All right, welcome back in. Just another football show. Championship weekend, kicking it off here. Got 2 games coming your way. Easy lifting for us this week, guys. We only got to do 4 interviews.
The YouTubes,
all
the Facebooks, the Gram, the Twitter machine.
I appreciate everyone listening and watching these. I know that
we're not.
Are we on TikTok?
No.
TikTok.
I got to dance for this, but I appreciate everyone watching these. I know it's a lot of fun to do. You probably notice I'm easily swayed by some of our interviews, so always fun to talk to the people who know what they're talking about. And these are 2 of our best, with Joey for the Packers and Luke for the Buccaneers. So really happy and really excited to see what they have to say.
Yeah, great fans, down since day one-ish, the both of them. And like you said, they bring an energy level that gets you excited. You want to root for them because they know what they're talking about, and you can feel that. And that's what we're trying to do with these fan interviews is we could go out there and we could find analysts. We've done it before to sit here and talk about, why this team should win and why this team shouldn't win. But to get a real fan perspective, a real feel, boots on the ground sort of a thing is what we're trying to do here. And we hope that translates to you, the listener, the way it does to us, the interviewers. So enjoy.
Yeah, Luke is way more optimistic than me. Got to be far more enjoyable to listen to him and his excitement about the Buccaneers than me and my dour pessimism.
This is very, very true. So we're gonna talk to Joey first. Gonna get him on the line. Talk about the Packers. Talk a little bit about last week and this upcoming matchup. And then, as you guys alluded to, we're gonna talk to Luke. So let's just get it going. All right. As we mentioned in the recap episode yesterday, I think one of the few teams we were impressed with this weekend. Joey joining us to talk about the Green Bay Packers. Joey, you got to feel pretty good coming off that win on Saturday. Saturday? It all blurred together.
Saturday, yeah. Man, I am elated. I don't know. Going into the week after I came on the show and laid out my prediction, I think I listened to the
pretty good prediction
heads
too.
A little. Yeah, that aged like a fine cheddar, didn't it?
Sure did, sir.
That joke was so cheesy.
I see what you did there. I started buying into it. Man, can we beat this defense? This defense is so good. Is Donald going to be, a wrecking ball? And I was really happy. About halftime, I really felt confident in Green Bay's ability to hold on and to finish that game and to close it out. And that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, Joe, I had mentioned in our recap episode how I was sort of impressed with LaFleur's play calling in this, because you really saw them sort of do some things that, Packers football stereotypically on offense, doesn't do. They got creative here, which is something you're not used to seeing from a Green Bay Packers team that, for the most part, pretty straightforward. You talk about that goal-to-go situation where you had Devontae Adams coming all the way across, the formation just to get Jalen Ramsey sort of caught up in the middle of that, where you're going to get him on a 1-yard touchdown pass and some other things like that LaFleur really, I think if I'm going to take one big takeaway away from this game, was how impressed I was with his play calling and his coaching in this football game.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that was such a dirty play. I mean, that is uncoverable.
There's nothing he can do.
As soon as I saw, oh man, when Devontae came sprinting back across the line, I think everybody watching knew exactly what was about to happen. And Jalen Ramsey played his tail off. Devontae got the better of him on a couple of catches, but really kept Devontae in check from getting downfield. Caught him on a pretty impressive double move, I think in the second half. But for the most part, they kept Devontae in check. He had 9 catches, but his yards per catch was pretty low. But yeah, the way LaFleur was able to scheme that game, and I think that's exactly what we're going to see going into this week. One thing about LaFleur is he's not shy from watching game film of other teams and adapting what they've done to beat some of these teams. And I think one thing you saw, which going into the game, if you'd have told me the Green Bay Packers were going to win this game because they were going to pound the ball for nearly 200 yards straight up the middle on that Rams defense, I'd have been like, we're losing. But much like the Rams, much like Tampa Bay, are a team, if you try to get those zone reads going, those stretch plays, those runs, they're too fast. Just sideline to sideline, both of those defenses just fly. And so I was just really impressed with the way the Packers were able to really pound the ball between the tackles and really set up that play action game, which we saw come together on a couple of those deep shots.
Yeah, it seemed like a dominant performance by the Rams the Packers here. without having to go too far into that bag of tricks. They had some good movement.
You're hoping they've got something
yeah,
left.
I think they got some other stuff left. Got at least one more game to play, if not two. So hopefully they didn't bust everything out. But like you said, a good performance running the ball. Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, and A.J. Dillon all got involved. We saw all the key players on the receiving the ball as well. With Lazard got that long touchdown pass. Devonta Adams, like you said, had that first touchdown pass and 66 yards there. Tanyan, MVS, and even Equanimous St. Brown all kind of got involved here. And it was pretty lights out for them. And then the defense stood up as well. So how do you feel about the defensive performance here, keeping Jared Goff under 200 yards, keeping Cam Akers under 100 yards rushing? How do you feel how your defense showed up?
Oh, I think the defense played the exact game you wanted to see out of them. We talked last week, getting to Goff was going to be key. I thought maybe he'd be in a position where we could generate a couple of turnovers with that hand and that thumb. But, good on him. I think playing in that glove really helped him. I was pretty impressed just the way he was able to find those holes in that Packer zone, which we can get into that because that's going to make me pull my hair out till I'm bald. But, overall that defense, the secondary, it continues to show their growth. They played incredibly well. Jair Alexander, once again, complete shutdown, lockdown. Island has a really nice ring to it. And I think the thing that really stood out to me was their pass rush. This new package we're starting to see Mike Pettin roll out where he's got, basically it looks like 5 guys on the line of scrimmage, the way they're walking one of their linebackers down. But you're now seeing them roll out this package of the Smith brothers, of Rashawn Gary and Kenny Clark. And once that got going, Jared Goff was in for a long night. He got hit a ton. And, those some of their twists, some of those slants, just really easy, simple stuff that they're doing on the line of scrimmage. And at times, guys were going completely unblocked. Rashawn Gary, a guy we talked a lot about last week, the growth he has shown. And now this guy, after that performance in the divisional round, he is a playmaker. And I'm so excited to see what he can do this weekend and just going forward as his career continues to blossom.
Yeah, Casey mentioned that for his opinion, Green Bay was one of the few teams this weekend that actually impressed him. I think Green Bay is maybe one of 2 teams this weekend that showed me enough to sort of really get excited matchup-wise for what they've got coming up, knowing that they showed me what I think they need to be able to do to beat this team that they've got coming up. You talk about the ability to sort of slow down this Rams offense, stop this run game that we saw run all over Seattle the week before, which Tampa sort of did to them in the last matchup. You talk about them creating these unique ways to get pressure on a quarterback. How do you beat Tom Brady? You get pressure on Tom Brady. So Green Bay showed me a lot in this game to sort of make me forget about the previous matchup between these 2 teams and really look at this one for what it is.
Couldn't agree more. I think you go back to week 6, and in the NFL, week 6 feels it might as well have been 4 seasons ago. And that is just it's the way both of these teams have grown. And that's the other thing too. This isn't the same Tampa Bay team that the Green Bay Packers played week 6 down there. They're better. Their offense, albeit it's nowhere near on the pace or the consistency that the Packers are showing, but their offense is there, and it comes in spurts. So that's one thing. I think when you go back and you watch that week 6 game, which I did in preparation for this phone call, and boy, the things I do for you guys.
Man, I can't
I
believe you did that for us.
It was hard. But in a weird way, I'm just going to call it, the Green Bay Packers quit at halftime.
Yes.
And I think it was one of those things where it's week 6, we have to play another game. This thing got away from us. If you go back, that game was 10-0. The Packers were rolling. And all of a sudden, that pick 6. And then they come back on the field, and Rodgers doing one of, things that happen so rarely in his career, throwing back-to-back interceptions. And the second one came back to the 2-yard line. The momentum, everything was just sucked out of that team. And you could see the energy went flat, the team went flat. And then they came back out, a couple 3-and-outs, long drives by Tampa Bay, and this game's essentially over at halftime. They buckled down a little bit. I think Tampa Bay took their foot off the gas, only generating 10 points in that second half. But these 2 teams this matchup couldn't be further from what it was week 6. And the Packers defense has grown and evolved so much. This offense is clicking at a historic level as far as consistency and what they're able to do. So I don't put a lot on that first game. If anything, I think it may help the Packers with a little extra motivation So yeah, I don't put a lot into what happened
See,
3 months ago.
and you mentioned that little extra motivation, and I wanted to ask you that because Casey said the word in our recap episode, revenge, which is what Green Bay was floating around this time last year was revenge matchup. And then they got into a situation where early on things started to look the same. And I don't want to say sort of quit like you said, but, you get into that funk as a player, as an athlete, where we've been here before, things aren't going our way. This is exactly how things shook out last time. How do you get over that mindset this time around?
I think the big thing will be is just that embarrassment factor. I think it helps what happened last year in the NFC Championship game. That matchup with the 49ers, they didn't quit either of those two games. They got their asses kicked on both sides of the ball, especially up front. They got their asses kicked. And I think it's different because when you go back and you watch that first 49ers matchup last year, they just got whooped. And the same thing happened again. I think sometimes teams just run into a matchup that they just, it's their kryptonite. You just cannot beat that squad in that year. And I think that's what happened with the 49ers and the Packers last year. So this year, I think that helps, that motivation, the way those guys felt at the end of that game. Anytime I find myself in life in a situation where I've been here again, let's make it end differently. I look back on those feelings and emotions. And, the NFL, these guys thrive on that. It's all about the energy. We've heard it so many times, whether it be Aaron Rodgers, JJ Watt, saying, if you don't show up ready to play, you don't deserve to be here. So I think a lot of that will go into it. And I think this team knows how good they are this year. Last year there was a lot of those one possession wins. Maybe a call went this way or a roll of the ball, a fumble here or there went that way. So last year they were nowhere near the squad they are this year. And I think they're coming in with so much confidence. They know this is their NFC to take. They know this is their chance. Aaron Rodgers knows this is his chance. These opportunities, this specific opportunity may never come again for him in his life. So I think the motivation is going to be there. And this is Tom Brady coming into the NFC. I think a little bit of that goes into it. We watched this guy for almost 20 years dominate an entire conference. You know what? He jumped ship. He's come over to our side. It's time to defend the NFC from Tom Brady and his legacy.
Yeah, and I think you made some good points there, especially about how neither of these teams are the same team they were in Week 6. 12 weeks ago or some ungodly number like that, and this is not even remotely close to being the same game. You're on point about the fact that Green Bay is now coming in motivated. They know they can do it. Even beating the Rams seemed like they were kind of in cruise control, and they still put up 32 points, with relative ease. So I do think that Green Bay is the team to beat. They're the Terminator here, and this game, unlike the last time they played Week 6, this game is in Green Bay. And weather might be a factor, and we've seen them be able to lean on that. And no one plays better in the cold than Aaron Rodgers. So how do you feel about that Lambeau environment? They had some fans in there, right? They were getting a few people, making some noise. And
we can't have fans all season long of playoffs.
Oh, we're in the playoffs.
We're opening it up for everybody.
We're good. Even as the pandemic rages.
I was gonna say, Jim, you were the guy that cheered this for Buffalo a couple weeks ago,
different.
so you don't get to take.
They don't
both
get
sides.
to see their team go to the playoffs every year.
Fair.
Obviously no surprise, and I'm a member of the medical profession. So, I look at that and I do have to kind of grin and bear it a little bit because Brown County specifically has not exactly been a celebrated county or area as far as COVID goes. But all that aside, you heard the Packers talk about it. Rodgers said, 8,000 people felt like 80,000. Just that little bit of energy and spark it brought. And I'll tell you, the 8,000 they let in on Sunday, they're going to be allowed 8,000. And that weather, I think that is the biggest difference. We know historically the two places the Green Bay Packers go to get embarrassed are Florida and California. And part of that may be, with California, the time zone jump, whatever factors into that. But specifically down south in Florida, that heat, that Week 6, it was still warm down there. So and I think it's that humidity specifically. So, but now the tables have turned. Tom Brady and that Tampa Bay team who have been enjoying about 6 straight weeks of cushy 75-degree weather, the sun, they're going to wake up Sunday morning facing 15 to 20 degree A weather, probably right around 10 to 5 degree wind chill factor, and right now they're saying about 25% chance of snow. So I hope that goes up. So I think that weather factor, just the mentality of it. You've already heard Bruce Arians talk about it. The weather is 100% mental for us. So you already see, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are already playing head games with themselves facing this cold. So I think it will be a factor. And we all know, we've all been in the cold. We're all here from the Midwest. If you walk into a pole on the side of the street when it's 20 degrees out, it feels like a car hit you. I can't imagine, going out there and getting lit up for 3.5 hours by NFL level athletes in that cold weather. So I think that's going to be a big factor. Where the last game to me was really decided by the turnovers. I think this week, if Green Bay does not turn the ball over, they will win this game. And a big part of that will go, with the weather. They're used to it. So I'm hoping maybe the weather will be a factor where we can generate a turnover or two from Tampa Bay just to kind of help us kick into that cruise control, like you said, a little bit more.
Yeah, Joey, I wanted to mention it real quick before I get my next question. What's the old adage? It doesn't matter if it's 5 people or 500 people. I'm putting forth the same effort out there, right? That's the old worker talk, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So Rodgers, he's speaking our language a little bit out there. There is one thing, though, a couple of guys on the Tampa team that are used to playing playoff football in horrible conditions, in the weather, and that's Brady and Gronk. They're not going to be shook, I don't think, by the weather, but can they bring enough to the – this is probably a better question for our Bucs fan, but we were talking about it at the time. I'll probably ask him too if I remember. Can they bring enough to that team, you think? Like you mentioned Arians, say, hey, this is all mental for us. Is that him trying to say, hey, get out of your fucking heads. It's just cold. You can still play football. They're doing it. Why can't we? Which is what – Tennessee struggled on earlier in the season. So is Brady going to bring enough of that, or do you think that Rodgers can still outmatch him in this cold weather game?
Oh, Brady's going to bring it. I mean, it's Tom frickin' Brady in the playoffs. I'm having nightmares already. We've all seen Brady magic. So, yeah, there's going to be that factor. I think what Brady will bring to that team is if things aren't going our way, we're not going to quit, And again, I think Brady will be the first one. I'm out here getting smoked by 300-pound defensive linemen. I'm getting back up. Yeah, it's cold. Let's play. Gronk, the same thing. Well, can we say, did Gronk, is he playing with concrete on his feet? I have not seen that man look so slow as I did last week. So, I mean, maybe that cold will slow him down even more, but holy cow. But yeah, no, I think the cold, we may be playing it up a little bit more. The superstars, the elite level athletes on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the cold's not going to bother them. Not at all. Where the cold will come into effect, where it can beat them, is if that game does start to turn. Let's say Green Bay gets up a touchdown. They get up 17 points. All of a sudden that cold gets really, really cold. So there are ways for the Green Bay Packers, if they execute and play their brand of football, and their defense can come out early and make a few stops, you could see that cold become a factor, in the head game a little bit more than I think it really will be a factor at kickoff.
I got to ask, because you mentioned it. You said there's about 25% chance of snow. I looked, it said 2 to 5 inches. Nothing terrible, but still the possibility of some snow. Last time we saw a snow game in Lambeau Field, we saw a big old helping dose of A.J. Dillon.
Oh, my God,
right? I'm always switching it back. I'm always coming back to A.J. We're going to see some A.J. Dillon this week because he looked pretty good last week. He did fumble, but he got it back. Or they got it back.
That's why you're my guy. You're on the Gary train. You've always been on the D Adams train, and you're on Quadzilla's train. I love it. I hope. He did take that pretty stiff shot to his quad that knocked him out of the game. He just about fumbled the game away. Can we talk about that? Sometimes the football gods are in your favor, and that ball rolling right back into the open arms of Aaron Rodgers was one of those times. I'd love to get A.J. Dillon back up there. I think we've seen – or just really that LA game was the first time we saw what that 3-headed monster looks like. And I think 6 to 7 carries for Dillon, he's generating 6-7 yards per carry. That's a perfect spot for him to be in right now. And A.J. Dillon, if the weather is cold, will be the kind of guy you're going to want to lean on. So I do think if that quad holds up, I definitely think you're going to get to see a healthy helping of Quadzilla back there.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, he says. All right, Joey, you know the drill. Let's make a pick for the game. Give me your score. How do you see this one shaking out?
All right. If both teams show up and both teams play their best game of football, the Green Bay Packers will win this game. They said it's all going to come down to the turnovers. The stats in that Saints-Bucks game last week, they weren't that far off. both teams produced pretty similar, except for points and turnovers. So you don't give the Bucs a short field, and you do not give them extra possessions. I fully believe the Green Bay Packers will have this thing in the bag. So I predict that the Green Bay Packers are advancing to the Super Bowl by a score of 34-27.
All right. Well, you were pretty close last week. So
I like how we threw that to the Super Bowl in there.
well, that's where we're at
It's
now.
important to note.
That's where we're at now.
Jeremy, you know me, and anybody listening to this who doesn't know me, one way or another, when that game strikes double zeros, whether it be in the fourth quarter or in overtime, win or lose, I will be crying.
Yeah.
The anxiety level right now is through the roof.
I'm glad. There's part of me that's glad my team's not in it because I don't like that feeling, that anxiousness, that anxiety that you guys are talking about.
It's there and it's real.
You just real quick before you let me go, Casey, you said it was the revenge game.
Yeah.
I'm going to go a different direction.
Sure.
This game is about vindication. This game is about everything that went on in the offseason, everything that everybody said about Aaron Rodgers, everything, all of the shade they've thrown his way. This moment on Sunday is about the Green Bay Packers being vindicated for everything everyone said about them.
Here we go.
I think he threw a little shot my way, too, there when he said
all
everything everyone said about them.
Yeah, this is true.
Hey, you weren't the only one, Jeremy. You weren't the only one.
That is very true. All right, Joey. Well, you know the drill. If your team advances on, we'll be talking to you before the Super Bowl. I won't say next week, but we'll be talking before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we got 2 weeks to hammer this out.
Yes, sir.
And you know what, Casey? I hope it's me and you having a little one-on-one.
Well, I don't, but I just hope it's me. I don't I haven't really thought as far ahead as to who was on the other side, but yeah, your team terrifies me, so maybe not. I don't know.
As does yours.
Yeah.
What a game it'll be.
Should be fun.
Yeah.
All right, bud. We appreciate the time. Look forward to talking to you again.
All right. Hey, and as always, dun 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 dun. Go, Pat, go.
Heard it here first.
All right. Bye, guys.
Later.
Thanks, Joey.
All right, now we got to welcome back Luke. He's our Bucks fan. I guess Ryan's also our Bucks fan, but he's our real fan. Ryan likes other teams.
That's fair.
Ryan is a Bucks fan now because they're one game away.
Luke, how you feeling, buddy? You're here.
Man, I am just so excited for Sunday. I couldn't believe that we did it.
Have you been waiting
No.
all week for Sunday afternoon?
I have
Fish.
been. And then I was off on Monday for Martin Luther King Day. It's just like it's just an extra day that I don't have to think about it all day at work.
So I was gonna ask you're excited, and I 100% understand that. Is there an anxiety level for you currently?
There is an anxiety level a little bit because, when we got Brady and everything, I was like, you know what, maybe we'll be happy. We're definitely going to make the playoffs. So, anything beyond that is gravy. But now that I'm really looking at it, I'm like, man, we're one game away from playing in the Super Bowl. And so now I'm all nervous.
Yep, that checks out.
Yeah, it happens. It happens to everyone.
I was going to say, were you expecting to be here? But you kind of explained that, making the playoffs was the immediate goal. And then all the extra stuff, like you said, is gravy.
Yeah, just the fact that we made the playoffs. First time since 2007 we made the playoffs. So that, and then it's like, all right, we beat Washington. Like, all right, whatever. Everybody knew we were going to do that. But then to watch the Saints be so just bad and their fans are so miserable right now, I love it. I can't get enough of it.
Okay,
That
I
is
hate the Saints
yeah.
too, so I'm glad.
That is probably a good feeling to have because I'm sure that you ate a bunch of shit from the Saints fans as far as how the previous two matchups went going into this one. Now, you talked about signing Brady. Okay, here we go. Let's just get to the playoffs. Now you're in the playoffs. Now you're one game away with Tom Brady. So knowing that you've got Brady there and his track record, it sort of has to be Super Bowl at bust now. You got to the playoffs, you won. Then it sort of shifts to that next gear, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because, even the guys on the team, obviously, they're saying all year, yeah, we're going all in, because it's not just Brady that we brought in. At the beginning it was, and then Gronk comes, and then we end up getting Fournette, and then we get AB. So as more and more like pieces came together, it's like, man, they're serious. Like, they're not just because I remember when Bruce Arians, his first press conference, I remember like exactly where I was, and I watched it. I was so excited, and he was like, "We're not rebuilding, we're reloading," and I was like, "Yeah, whatever. Like, we got Jameis, whatever." And then now he brings in Brady, and I'm like, "Man, he wasn't messing around. Like, he was dead serious." And now we got a chance to actually go to the Super Bowl, and then anything can happen in the Super Bowl. So it is Super Bowl or bust. It's a reality now for all the fans.
Yeah, it's a reality. You guys have the pieces you're getting there. You mentioned Fournette, who had a big, big part of their victory over the Saints. I also want to talk about, to me, when I look at the previous two games against New Orleans and then coming into this game and the way Tampa won this game, it wasn't Tom throwing all over the field, Tom for 500 yards and, 6 touchdowns, and that's what's getting it done. It was run the football, play great defense. Almost like they had a complete change of philosophy when it came to just beating New Orleans. Knowing that they can do that, they can play that style of football that good, that we've already seen them be able to beat the Packers with before this season. Now, these are two completely different teams and played, in week 6 or whenever that matchup was. How good was it to sit there and watch? How good did it feel to sit there and watch this Tampa team beat New Orleans the way that they beat New Orleans? 4 turnovers, running the football, playing opportunistic football as well, and then just shutting down Michael Thomas. How good did that feel as a fan?
It feels so good just because how bad. The first game was kind of a wash, right? Because I didn't think we were going to win that game.
Week 1.
Yeah, week 1. I didn't think we were going to win that game. It was just too new for everyone. It was just that game. I said, you know what? That's our hardest game of the year at New Orleans. We always get blown out. So I kind of just took that loss with a grain of salt. But then when we got just destroyed the second game, I'm like, dude, what is going on? Like, we can't be serious, and we can't. Like, this can't happen. And so then going into this weekend, I was like, I told you guys, if we can put pressure on them, we're gonna be okay. And we got after Breeze. He was uncomfortable all night. The Bucs did such a good job of taking away everything outside the hash marks. Because Breeze, he just can't do it. And the arm is just spaghetti at this point. He can't throw the ball. And it's a little sad to see, to be honest, as just an average fan. And then the way they played defense, they rushed the passer. They took away. Michael Thomas just got completely shut out, which to me wasn't that much of a surprise because he did get locked down in the other 2 games for Carlton Davis. And then Mike Evans obviously gets locked down. So it's kind of a wash, but it is nice to see because Michael Thomas is super cringy, if you're not a Saints fan. And so that was nice to see. And then the way that Devin White was just patrolling the middle of the field. We talked about it last week. Devin White coming back with fresh legs. And he was just, obviously he had the splash plays. He had a pick, and then he had a fumble recovery forced by Winfield, who I love. But his real impact wasn't even in the splash plays. It was cleaning up hits. When someone would get hit, they had a screen to a tight end. The Saints ran one. And Sean Murphy-Bunting, who has played very well this postseason, just form tackled, wrapped up the tight end. It wasn't even Cook. It was their backup tight end. I don't even know his name. And then Devin White just comes out of nowhere and just blows him up. And he had so many of those cleanup hits. And, when they put him on Kamara, he shuts Kamara down for the most part, which is an underrated matchup whenever we play the Saints. And so he was smacking around Kamara. He was smacking the tight end. And it was just the Saints knew, we really can't move the ball. And that has never happened against the Bucs before. So I was super proud of Todd Bowles. He did not play zone all day. and it worked. So I was super happy about the defense.
Did not play zone all day, and that's got to be a good feeling.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought up Devin White. It's a guy I was going to point out. He had 11 tackles. He had the interception. He had the fumble recovery. Like you said, he was all over the place. And it really kind of gives me a good reason to cheer for this defense because it's a lot of young guys. It's a lot of guys who are maybe a little bit under the radar, but they all stepped up in the Saints game and looked really, really good. Devin White, you mentioned Sean Murphy-Bunting. Carlton Davis did a fantastic job. Mike Edwards with the pick. Jamel Dean played well. It's just one of those things where at the right time it all seemed to come together. And like you pointed out, Todd Bowles called a very, very good game where he didn't let Drew Brees and Michael Thomas pick him apart or little dump-offs to Kamara go anywhere. It was just overall a very good game and not what a lot of people, myself included, expected out of the Bucs this late into the postseason.
Yeah, and the thing about our defense that I love is the youth on the defense, right? I mean, we got the whole defensive line is all it's all vets. With Stu and JPP and Barrett, those are our best guys up front. I don't want to name the whole roster, but those are our big guys up front. And what I love about those guys is I've been giving Jason Light so much flack for how bad that he's drafted, because he's missed on surefire picks, and then he drafted a kicker in the second round. And so I gave him a lot of flack for that. But recently, within the past 3 years, he's done a fantastic job of building the defense because he got Shaq Barrett in free agency for a 1-year, $5 million deal, and then he led the league in sacks. He got JPP after the Giants just threw him away, and JPP has been awesome for us. And Sue's been awesome. I mean, he replaced Gerald McCoy, so kind of a wash, but, still impressive pickup. And then the whole back half he drafted, Jamel Dean, Sean Murphy-Bunting, Carlton Davis, our 3 best corners. They're all his draft picks. Mike Edwards was a 4th-round pick. Winfield was a 2nd-round pick, and he was such a steal. And then, obviously, Devin White was our 1st-round pick last year. So just the youth on our defense it's so good because not only are they, obviously, they're talented, but they're so impressionable. They're so easy to accept coaching from the coaches and from the leaders on the defense. Devin White is a captain, already. Levante David is a great leader. And so the young guys, they're buying in already is what I'm trying to say. And that's super good going forward. And I just love it, man. I'm so excited for the defense going forward.
I love the energy and the excitement here. It's almost contagious. I know that you continuously saw Ryan on his favorite team,
Yeah.
so he says. We talked about the previous 2 matchups against the Saints, and the Saints coming into this one maybe thinking about what happened before and hoping that they could just mirror that success. How does Tampa avoid falling into that same trap? Look at what they did to Green Bay before. The worst loss of the season that the Packers suffered were at the hands of this Tampa Bay team. How does Tampa look at that and not fall into that, okay, this is going to be an easy matchup, we can do this again? How do they avoid that trap?
So I think they avoid that because, obviously, I think Tom Brady and him, saying to the guys, hey, this is, one game. It doesn't matter what happened, because obviously he's hey, look, we just got blown out by the Saints and then we beat them. But I think because it was so early in the season that the teams are so much different now, right? Because the Bucs offensively are way better than they were. I think it was week 6 we played them.
Yeah.
The offense is so much better. And when you think about it, that was our early peak of the season. When we played the Packers, then we played the Raiders and the Giants, and we beat all those guys, and then we beat Carolina too. So we were, really riding high, and everybody was drinking the Kool-Aid, oh, how great we are. And then they lost 3 out of 4 when in the Saints game and in the Chiefs game, and I don't remember who else we lost to in that stretch, but we lost 3 out of 4, and so now it's all right, we hit the reset button, we were super good, and now we kind of suck. And so now I think that they're still going to ride the peak that we've been on from the last 4 games of the regular season and the last 2 playoff games instead of looking back. Because in order to look back, you got to say, man, we go all the way back to the Packers game, but then we got to go back to how we were so trash getting blown out. And so, I mean, it's a new game. And the offense, I think, is so much better now. I don't know how healthy AB is going to be. Hopefully he'll be able to go full strength. But we didn't have AB last time we played him and we beat him. And the defense, when we beat them, that was the reason why we won, was they got a pick six, and then they got a pick that went down to like the 2 or 3 yard line that we just ran it in on the next play. And I don't see Rodgers making those kinds of mistakes again. And so what I think we need to do, especially defensively, because I think the offense is going to be okay. But defensively, they really need to just say, hey, look, like he's probably going to get us a couple times. You know, there's no way that Aaron Rodgers, especially this year, is going to have another game like that. You know, even though we are very good. So just embrace that, you know, things are not going to go well all game like they did last time. And just say, hey, you know, if you get burned, you know, whatever. If Devontae Adams gets a touchdown early, it's cool. You know, I'm not really worried about them running the football because we are very good at defending that. And that's something that we did really well in the first game. But honestly, Aaron Rodgers being one-dimensional is kind of what scares me even more than them being balanced, just because he's been so good this year. But I think that we really need to embrace the challenge. Like, hey, we're not good. Like, we're playing a good quarterback this week. Like, yeah, we're playing another Hall of Famer, but this guy is actually, like, good still. Ooh. You know, not like Breeze is, unfortunately. So really embrace the challenge and embrace the, you know, the hardships that are probably going to happen during the game. And just know that, hey, we got a guy on the other side that if it's tied and it's late in the game, that we just got to make one stop. And Devin White said it in his post-game press conference after the Saints. He said, hey, like, you know, I'm always going to go with my guys. And if we just have that mentality defensively, and we say, hey, we just got to stop them one more time than they stop us, and we're probably going to win. So I think that just embracing the challenge and knowing that it's not going to be an easy game like the first one was, I think that's the best way to look at it from a defensive standpoint.
I like the little subtle jab you took at Breeze in the midst of that.
I'm not sure how subtle.
That wasn't subtle at all.
Yeah.
We all picked up on it rather quickly.
Yeah.
I do want to ask you, I mentioned it to our Packers fan, and it's funny how your points and his points sort of mirror each other as far as looking at opposite sides of this matchup coming in here. But weather being what it's supposed to be, it's Lambeau, it's the frozen tundra. You know, they're talking 2 to 5 inches of snow, cold wind. Tampa's got a couple guys on that team that are used to playing championship games in cold and snow and wind, and Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski. Them aside, how do you think the rest of the team can sort of shore up? Is weather going to be a factor in this one for the team? Bruce Arians says it's mental for us, and that's it. What is your feeling on how this team responds to playing in the cold weather in Lambeau for a championship?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I'm not really worried about it at all. Just because, and this is something a lot of Packers fans have pointed out to me within the past couple of days, like, oh, it's going to snow. Like, you guys are like a bunch of Florida boys. Like, you're not going to know how to act and it's cold. And I'm just like, look, dude, like, the Packers have to play on the same snow that we have to play on, just like they'd have to play on the same slippery field if it was raining in Tampa. You know, so the field conditions are what they are. But as far as, you know, the temperature seems to be the big thing that people are talking about. And I really don't think it's that big a deal. I mean, we've got so many guys on our team that, you know, Levante David and Sue both played in Nebraska in college. JPP and Shaq Barrett played in New York and Denver. And I don't really buy into it. I mean, Winfield played in Minnesota last year. I mean, Murphy Bunting played in Central Michigan. I mean, so I don't really see it being that big a deal because, I mean, you don't hear about that kind of stuff from a high school player going to college, right? Like, a 5-star prospect coming from the state of Florida or Texas going to Ohio State or Michigan. Like Jim Harbaugh isn't saying, well, I don't know if we can recruit this guy because it's going to be cold up here and cold's a big deal. Like, I don't really see it being that big of a factor. I mean, it'll be cool. I mean, not cool. I think it'll be different for sure. You know, the guys will be seeing their breath coming out of their helmet. But when that whistle blows, they're not going to be thinking about the cold. I really doubt it. And if you guys remember, in 2002, when we played the Eagles in the NFC Championship, they were saying the same thing. They're all like, oh, the Bucs have never won a game below, whatever degrees it was, so they're not going to win today. And the Bucs won that game. So, I mean, it'll be a little bit of a mental thing, I think, a little bit, during warm-ups or whatever. But when the ball snaps, they're not thinking about it at all. They're thinking about doing what they got to do to make plays to go to the Super Bowl. I mean, the Super Bowl. It's a huge game. And I don't really see it being that big deal, to be honest with you guys.
That 0-2 game, I'm glad that you brought it up because it is a good sticking point. But that was the first time that they had won in cold weather for a while. So it did take them a little bit to kind of get over it. But when the Super Bowl was on the line, they did step up and play. So I think that is an interesting point. I'm really glad that you brought that up because it mirrors that just enough where we could see something like that happen again. My concern is the snow, but that's always, football's just different in the snow. So,
yeah.
I'll take it. You're going.
Oh, I was going to say, but
you're on a roll. Go for it.
With that, because of where we are, we're going to make you do the exact same thing we did last week. So, Luke, tell me how this game plays out and what the final score is.
So, I definitely think, I don't know, I could be prisoner of the moment right now, but I picked us to beat Washington, and we won. And I picked us to sort of lose against New Orleans, but I got to say, man, there's one thing I've never done in my life, even before Tom Brady, because I've always been a huge Tom Brady fan, even when he was in New England. And people would ask me, who do you got winning the Super Bowl? Everybody, just talking around, locker room or whatever at the beginning of the year. And I always went with the Patriots just because I got more faith in Tom Brady, the greatest football player, in my opinion, ever. And so, with that being said, I got the Bucs winning, and I got us winning by 13. I got us winning by 2 possessions, man. I can't go against Tom Brady now just because he's my quarterback and I'm more emotionally invested in his ability to win the Super Bowl. But I got us winning. Because Rodgers, let's be honest, he really sucks in NFC Championship games. And I hope that I don't have to come back to the podcast next week and have to eat my words because I can totally see why the Packers would win. I mean, they're going to be favored, I'm sure, as they should be because they're at home and Aaron Rodgers is the MVP this year. But the way we're playing right now and the fact that we have Tom Brady on our team, I can't pick against us. I just can't do it.
All right, Luke. Well, if you're right, then we'll be talking to you before the Super Bowl. If not, then we'll pencil you in for the preseason.
Yeah.
All right, man. We appreciate the time. Thanks for hanging out and talking this game with us.
Oh, yeah, guys. Have fun on Sunday watching all the games, okay?
Hey, man. We appreciate it. Have a good one.
All right.
One down, one to go.
He always gets me fired up for Bucs.
Yeah, we know.
Like talking to an actual Bucs fan
exactly.
is all you need.
Well, I've been talking about the Bucs, right? I get to point
we
out.
talk about the Bucs every week, and we have never once sold you on this
I don't give a shit about what you guys have to say about the Bucs. He points out all the defensive players I love. Tells me where they went to school, which I love.
You drop a college on Ryan, and you
I'm
got
an
it.
easy man to impress,
Yeah.
but he did it there. So I mean,
'Cause
Joey.
Central Michigan is so unknown.
I'm just saying, how many people knew that Sean Murphy Bunting went there, right?
I did not, but
yeah,
that's
exactly.
not why I'm here. That's why you're here.
But Joey did a fantastic job as well. Really two of my favorite guys on this
And
one.
they did. They sort of without knowing that.
Yeah.
They we asked some of the same questions. They sort of answered all the same questions. They had this very good point counterpoint without realizing they were going point counterpoint.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a really good game. It does benefit that it's a rematch. we see that in the other championship game as well, a rematch. So it's going to be interesting to see how both of them play out. I don't think that Green Bay is going to have the same problems, but I don't know that Tampa Bay is going to be able to capitalize.
Don't give it
on
all
the
away
same
yet,
thing.
Ryan.
So,
We tease them a little bit, but
I'm
don't
just
give it
saying.
away
I'm
yet.
just saying. It's going to be a really fun.
They got to
one.
do their job that they're supposed to do if they're enjoying this right now. It's
gonna be a fun
and
one.
download the podcast and listen to what we have to say about it.
Yeah, we're gonna predict both these games on Friday on the actual podcast feed. So keep an eye out. We will be talking Chiefs Bills coming up here very shortly. Keep an eye out. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. The links will be available everywhere soon after you watch this one. So we appreciate it. Make sure that you guys are subscribing to the podcast, giving us the shares, the likes, the subscribes, the 5-star reviews, ratings,
That'd be the best.
all the things. Yeah, we really love those 5-star reviews.
If you want to, can't knock the hustle.
We would very much appreciate it. So for these two fucksticks,
Yeah, I'm just over singing Weezer at this point.
yeah, we know, and some good fans.
And
We
that's why you're a
we always
fuckstick.
appreciate having the fans. This has been
That's why. That's the first time I've ever done that. Maybe.
That's why you're right now.
just another football show.
Bye.
See ya.
Act one.